You got something on your jacket, by the way.
Yeah, I got milkshaked by Antifa on the way into the building.
You hate to see it. Hello, and welcome to number one Boys the Ringers Succession After Show with Jason Concepcion.
Hello.
I am Chris Ryan. We are here to talk about Succession, and Jason, this was a pretty screwball episode, right? Like, there was a lot of, kind of physical comedy. There was a lot of running around. You had secret meetings, amusement park diversions. You had a sort of funny funeral. And even scarily enough, you had an active shooter situation, which is then with the Greg and Tom stuff played for laughs and the sort of caste system of panic rooms that they have.
Multiple safe rooms, the lower level safe room for the middle executives like Tom and Greg that is not secure. Gas, as Greg pointed out, could easily seep under the door.
Right.
A child assassin might come in through the window above the door.
Greg had a lot of awareness of the levels of security they were dealing with, but then the episode ends with possibly the most heartbreaking, the most devastating, the most human moment of the season so far, in a moment that sort of echoed Logan and Kendall's heartbreaking embrace at the end of the first season. Logan, to the extent that he is capable, opens up to Shiv, and it leads to this really, really heart-rending scene.
Yeah, it's such a change-up when this show gives you sincere emotion.
Yeah, you almost don't know what to do with it.
You do not know what to do with it. And even the characters themselves don't know what to do with it. There's that incredible moment where Shiv is like, what? Okay. And then feeling her brother breaking down in her arms is just taken aback and has no idea
and
what
they don't
to do.
cut to Logan. They don't cut to Kendall first.
Yeah.
You see Shiv's reaction first, and that's when you know something really intense is happening.
It's heartbreaking.
That's when we're gonna get right into buy or sell it.
So just got a new dog. We named him Goebbels, but it's just Go, G-O-B-L.
Oh, go Bells.
Go Bells.
Sure.
Goebbels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a different. There's no.
Nobody's
right,
gonna flag
it's
that.
not a reference to
No,
anything.
of course not.
It's just I love the way it sounds.
I'm buying Shiv and Kendall as a pair for each other because of what winds up happening when they're dancing around actually talking about something. And the cadences of the dialogue is so important in this show, usually for comedic effect, usually for the perfectly placed profanity, the perfectly laid out barb. But when Shiv says, fucking talk to me, the way that is like laid out seems to like be the lockpick on Kendall.
Yeah, he is stonewalling, and then finally can't escape, leading to that line when he's after the embrace where he says, I would just ask that you take care of me.
Yeah.
And it is it's devastating.
Because he says, if Dad didn't need me right now, I don't know what I'd be for, which is a very interesting, almost like Shakespearean way of saying.
Right, he's a tool.
Yeah, what's my purpose? But it's specifically like a tool. I think that when this show started, when this series started, people looked at Kendall and people looked at Jeremy Strong and were like, that's going to be the Don Draper. Yeah. That's going to be the maverick anti-hero who eventually puts it all together to drag this company into some sort of morally acceptable position. I think that's what people thought initially. Right. And over the years, or over the time, you see Kendall's just actually not that bright.
He's incompetent, not quite as incompetent as Roman. He knows how to
pretend to be smart.
Right, but when it comes to that final chess move, the final two chess moves, he's not there.
You know who he actually reminds me of? Ziggy from The Wire. He's
He's
way more like Ziggy from The Wire than he is like Walter White. He is because you remember in the sort of final scene, spoiler for people who haven't seen The Wire, sorry, but that final scene that we get with Ziggy in The Wire Season 2, and he's like, and now this is where I am, fucked from birth. He kind of has this revelation that he was like, I was always going to end up here, and I feel like Kendall's in the same spot.
It's a great point. If you think about every big meeting, big moment that Kendall has, his need to close that deal is so present on his face that it's almost Wham's Gamian in its like neediness.
Yeah.
Like the way he walks into the meeting. I forget the name of the art platform people, where he's just like, hey, cool, so cool to be here with you, and he tries to throw his expensive shoes out the window. Like he just wants to impress people and close that deal so badly, and he's finally come to the place where he realizes he doesn't have it in him. I think that's one of the things that really struck me about this scene with Kendall and Shiv is Kendall finally understands like what his father is. They've all grown up with Logan as their father figure this whole time, but it's only now that Kendall understands the lengths that his father is willing to go to.
Yeah, I think he actually believes what he says when he's like, Dad's plan is better.
Yeah.
Because Dad's plan is absolute. Because like Logan can't lose if you play the game that way.
Yeah.
Kendall's a guy who has lost his wife and kids for the most part. He's been publicly humiliated and embarrassed, lost any standing he had in the business community.
Right.
Also has been kind of like robbed of his ability to do drugs. Like he obviously is still using, but like all of the things that you would say are markers of his identity, he is being told like you can't have that.
He's been reduced to literally shoplifting, petty crimes.
Yeah, to feel something.
Yeah.
He's essentially like Logan's blood boy.
Yeah.
He's like walking around, he's like, here's your pill, here's your water, you have to eat during this time.
When Shiv discovers that he's shoplifting vape fluid and candy, she is taken aback because he could, as she says, buy the entire industry.
Yes, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Shiv because I thought in some ways like there is always like this weird search for a mother in this show, especially among the male characters. Roman finds his mother in a very specific way. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But I thought that the embrace between Shiv and Kendall was pretty maternal.
It was. The closest thing we got to this previously was that moment, the end of season 1 in the boathouse, where you kind of get the feeling of the emotional dynamic between the siblings minus Connor, and kind of an inkling about like the emotional support that Shiv provides. And here, really seeing it, it's something else. It's something else. Like that is a more intimate moment than she ever has with Tom, her husband.
Yeah, and then there's a really crucial line where it's like, it's the same thing that Stewie said to Kendall earlier in the season, but it's like, can we actually talk?
Yeah.
And that's all people do on this show is talk, but they are all playing parts. They are all playing, like, I can't show you this part of me because that is a vulnerability or that is a weakness. And there's like that brief second in this episode where they are allowed to be human with each other, and it's so moving. So we're buying Kendall and Shiv.
It's amazing.
What are you buying?
I'm buying history.
Yeah.
The scope of history, being a history buff.
Scale, right?
Just the scale of it. Mark Ravenhead, an ATN anchor, is under fire in this episode for possibly having fascist and Nazi sympathies. But if you really look at the evidence, being a panelist at a fascist conference could happen to anyone, right? Reading Mein Kampf a couple of times, maybe 3.
Yeah, what Easter eggs did you miss the first time?
Naming his dog the
Blondie.
same Blondie, which is Hitler's dog's name, different spelling, so it's completely different. And then also like getting married at the Eagle's Nest, Hitler's Bavarian retreat. That's all circumstantial. The guy just loves history. He loves that period of history, loves the scale of it, loves the scope of it. That's all. Yeah. And history is important, as we all know.
Okay. I'm also buying Pierce because I think Pierce is going to get bought. That is the sort of legacy blue blood media institution that Logan is desperate to buy because he wants to get too big to fail. Yeah. Holly Hunter plays Rhea Jarrell, who is sort of the CEO of Pierce, but also the emissary of, hey, no doesn't always mean a total no here in this negotiation. That scene where they're in the panic room, Kendall clearly goes to the bathroom to take a bump, comes back out, and the 3 of them are kind of negotiating in all their separate ways, where like Shiv is speaking perfect corporatese. Right. Kendall is like 22 billion, 22.5 billion, 23 billion.
Shiv is on the one hand speaking corporatese and also like taken aback at the central role that Kendall appears with. She keeps saying, "Dad, can he do this? Is he
Yes.
allowed to do this?"
And they're all playing future games. It's like, hey, if we buy this, are you still the CEO? If we buy this, is this Shiv's thing to set up? Is this Kendall's? Is it Logan's?
Yeah.
Is Logan just going to turn around and stab them right in the back and destroy them, which is what everybody thinks he's going to do?
The arc of that meeting is really interesting because it begins essentially with Jarrell giving the Roys the Pierce family line, which is essentially fuck off.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they get up to about 25 billion, she's like, "Oh well, I might think you're serious if you keep going."
I know. It's so perfect. What else are you buying or selling?
I'm gonna sell the ruse that Logan Roy is actually interested in naming a successor.
No interest.
I think it's becoming, if it wasn't previously, evidently clear that what he wants to do is play his children and his siblings off of each other in ways that bring out their usefulness. I could see Pierce obviously as a stand-in as like the Sulzbergers, kind of like the New York Times meets CNN news platform. They would be attracted to a person like Shiv being a point person in this deal because she's worked with Democratic politicians before, maybe has viewpoints that publicly align with Pierce's public viewpoints, and Logan could not miss that.
Yes.
So he's got his attack dog in Kendall, and then he's got his attractive daughter who is left-leaning in Shiv.
The modern face of the company.
Remember previously in this season when he's like, "Get me a woman, get me a," this is what he wants.
Yeah.
This is what he needs.
So that's what we're buying and selling on this episode of Succession. Let's get into number one boy, which is essentially who won the episode. And hey, Jeremy Strong gave an amazing performance.
Incredible.
This week. Dynamite stuff. I thought Sarah Snook was incredible this week.
Unbelievable, as always.
There's only one number one boy, and that's Roman, man.
He finally.
Because Roman was like throwing 99 this entire time.
Yes.
In real America, putting a pizza roll in his mouth and then putting it back on the plate. But he made a friend, and I think we may have a bridge to sexual satisfaction from my guy.
We've been wondering since season 1, like what's Roman's deal?
Yeah.
He's can't seem to have sex effectively in any kind of way. His previous girlfriend was like, "Yeah, remember the only time we had sex is like you kind of masturbated near me one time?" And then can't even have phone sex with his current girlfriend. And then finally we get to it. Mm-hmm. This kind of long simmering maternal flirtation, whatever it is with Jerry, has finally burst forth into a...
Burst being the operative word, yeah.
It has definitely burst into a kind of like sadomasochistic, psychosexual, like carnival of humiliation that he clearly needs in this moment in his life.
For sure, yeah. Jerry seems to take it in stride. She seems deeply amused by it. I suppose you could also say that she could use that against Roman at some point.
It's a great arrow in her quiver at some point, I would imagine.
But yeah, Roman just calls and is just like, dom me and like tell me I'm a piece of shit and while I rub one out. And she's like, all I'm doing is drinking a martini and watching the news, so it's what the hell?
Jerry, come to my home and call me a bedbug in front of my wife and kids.
But it's like, the best part about this is that it was just like one of a number of incredible Roman moments, including he made a friend, which was fantastic stuff.
Unbelievable. Really made a friend.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about that.
All right, so that's our number one boy of the week. Let's get into biggest burn of the week.
Listen, I don't want to have to do this, but I really need the time off, so I just wanted you to know, remember when you had me erase all those emails saying that, in which you said that Mark Helfholtz was going to be the greatest prospect of the next 20 years in the NBA, and you said that he was just an incredible player, all-around player, who's going to revolutionize the NBA. I printed some of those out, and I have them. just...
Are you blackmailing me?
No.
I accept your blackmail.
No.
Enjoy your vacation. I think I'm going to go with Logan. Frank made it out of Hungry alive.
Yeah,
but I think I'm going
barely.
to go with Logan saying to him, "Why don't you take your library card and fuck off?" when he makes the Cornelius joke.
He's our Coriolanus.
Yeah.
He switched sides. No? Nobody on that one?
I don't think Kendall is like dealing with those kinds of Shakespearean deep cuts.
no.
What's your biggest burn of the week?
Roman getting left out of the Waystar introductory video at management training? Unbelievable sight gag begins with Logan Roy saying, "You're joining Waystar Royco, one of the most vibrant multimedia platforms on Earth." And then you get Kendall saying that Waystar Royco, feel it. And then a half a second of Roman going, and then it just cuts.
Yeah. It was like the Too Many Cooks video. And it was just like, there's one more Roy kid who's gonna fucking look up. So yeah, that was our biggest burn of the week. For line of the week, I'm gonna go Roman again. I love Roman's frame of reference, even if he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm stripping back to basics. This is my White Album.
We need to
I'm definitely going into like everything in my life now, and I'm gonna be like, this meeting is gonna be my astral weeks. I'm really just gonna get in touch with heartbreak in this meeting.
Can we talk about this? So, I love this joke because it's on the one hand an incredible like deep cut reference, and then like on another still deeper level, like the White Album was like one
a
of the
production masterpiece.
A double album, like one of the Beatles' most complex records. So
but it would definitely be something Roman saw on like an elevator screen one time that was like the White Album, the Beatles is like, and he was just like, back to basics. Like
we're going, stripping it down.
Like I become kill the king, become king, just like Hamlet, whatever. What was your line of the week?
Brian, the person that Roman meets in management training, introduces himself to Roman with this line: "I'm an enigma. You can't pigeonhole me. I'm there and then I'm gone. I'm intellectually promiscuous but culturally conservative. I work hard but I do not play hard. I play easy. Why would you play hard?" Unbelievable stuff.
And then it's just great that Roman recognizes a fellow traveler and is like, we need to fast track this guy.
Yeah, I found someone. We need to fast track him.
This is a show about another show where Jason and I we'll talk about that show.
On the show.
Yes. We can get into Finance 101. I mean, we've been getting so many emails about it.
It's important.
Jason and I even got a complimentary Bloomberg terminal.
I love those.
That's been really, I wouldn't say educational because we kind of already know all that stuff, right?
I'm still looking for the on switch. They have all there's too many letters and and
well,
colors.
I just don't even know when it goes up or down.
Right. I don't understand how that works. Also,
is that like frozen orange juice?
Also, is Bloomberg Mayor Bloomberg?
Yeah. So he said we couldn't drink wine at Prospect Park anymore, right?
Right. We can't do that.
No. And that's why we're where we are with China. And that, I mean, when you get down to it, right?
He made those?
Yes. I think that's his hobby,
Wow.
That's been Finance 101. Let's get into Let Them Eat Cake, the crazy rich moment of the week. And I think this is a field of one. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going human footstool.
Footstool fiesta, baby.
Yeah. Greg just kind of being like, hey, like the human footstool, the routine humiliation, verbal and physical, and also Nazis. Like, I just can't do ATN anymore.
I love that Greg, at much cost to possibly his own career, made sure to keep a hold of the hard copies of all the wrongdoings on Waystar Royco's Carnival line, but has also personally witnessed Tom using a coworker as a footstool.
It was like the other thing is blackmail.
And is like,
I know.
no, but I can't use that.
Yeah.
Why use that
Also,
blackmail.
Tom's like active delight at being blackmailed is like everything you need to know about this show.
It's
you slimeball.
Are you blackmail?
I accept your blackmail. I thought that was incredible. Let's just talk briefly for episode 5 predictions. I want to get back to Kendall. I do not want to end on a dark note, but stop putting Kendall on roofs.
There are clear foreshadowing of Kendall jumping off a roof.
How does Kendall break? And how bad does he break? And I think that they are isolating him. He can't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
He's like increasingly alone in the world. He like kind of reaches out to Greg and he kind of reaches out to this person or that person, but he's just like him leaning over and putting his face against the window and
even last episode when he's just staring off the balcony, like in that moment when Shiv comes and speaks to him, and the way this episode opens with him walking up the stairs, that really strange sequence of him climbing the stairwell, it just feels the tension is palpable, and I feel like something bad is coming.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna. There's a world that this show needs to play within. Like there are like kind of guardrails for any show, and I have a hard time imagining a show without Kendall or without Jeremy Strong in it. But you can't just go back to being like funny, vicious Succession after that. But what Kendall is up to is my biggest interest because
I love this theory.
Is he playing back against Logan again? Like the fact that he's in charge of his medication. You and I we're talking about this. But the other thing is that there is a darker possibility that he is like playing Shiv.
Right. That is.
Which is entirely within the realm of possibility.
Next level ruthless. That would be next level.
That he is inviting Shiv in somehow to corrupt her, to betray her, to essentially position himself back in next in line. Because he says one of the most touching lines of the series is, "It ain't gonna be me."
And that is brutal and devastating.
And him laughing at it, kind of just being like, I'm so screwed. But yeah, I mean, like, it's not a prediction. It's just like what happens to Kendall is kind of like the driving dramatic force of the show for me.
Yeah, I do wonder, like it just seems, the medication thing I do wonder about. Like, does he think, well, either I kill myself
or I take him out.
I do this for the rest of my natural life until he dies, and who knows like what is released, what news is released upon at the time of his death, or I take him out.
Yeah.
Like,
it's pretty amazing to think about that. And then also like all the Pierce stuff coming up, because I think that we obviously are going to get more of that in the coming weeks.
I'm really excited at the possibility of seeing like the mirror image, the left-leaning mirror image of the Roy family and the Pierce family.
Yeah, and just like how they play that, where they're just like, yeah, you know what, like, I'm just gonna watch you guys eat for 5 minutes and then skulk out. Yeah. It's like everything is everything. Yeah. There's no rules. Jason, thank you so much. This has been Number One Boys. We will be back with you next Sunday night after the East Coast airing of Succession on all the usual channels. Thank you for watching.
Can I get an escort out of the building?
Yeah, sure. There's a Jaguar waiting downstairs.